Hello, Jennifer Eason. Thank you for joining me. It's been a while since I've done a vlog or a podcast. I've had a few things, life events that have taken my time, and some of you have, you know, you knew about my change, my life event. I became a grandmother. Okay. So I'm now in the grandmother club. A lot of my, peers have entered this, phase of life. And I was excited at the possibility of it, and it has finally happened. So I have a grandchild now. Yes. And my daughter, she's one of those millennials that she understands that the whole social media thing is to be reevaluated. So one of the things that she has requested is that my grandchild not be on social media, which I really appreciated that she had this stance. So tell me what you think about it. Drop it below. How do you feel about children being on social media, from the time they are born? We certainly didn't have to deal with that. And one of the things that she explained, which is really amazing, she's saying, a child doesn't have the ability to give consent for their, image and their likeness being, broadcast, all over on the World Wide Web. And especially with the things that we're learning that goes on, I'm so glad that she is parenting that way. So I wanted to talk about a flight that I had. Oh my goodness, me and aviation. I shared on Instagram recently. I had a flight and it was pretty eventful. And I've had some eventful flights, okay? Share your eventful flights down below. And some of you know about my eventful flights. But anyway, this particular flight, you know, me in airports right now, I'm not really thrilled with the aspect of travel, which I used to be super excited to travel. Now, not so much. It's just taken the joy out of it, the tyranny. And it started pretty much after 2001, the whole Patriot Act. I hate that it's called Patriot Act, right? My. And, can you imagine we're still taking our shoes off, still being treated like criminals? And unless you do the fancy thing where you pay that you can go, to the special line. But I'm just saying, like, who would have thought that it would have remained that way? And that's one of those things when you give up your freedoms and you do it in the guise of safety and all of that, you have to know that there's no going back to whatever you think is normal. I think we're getting that right now. We've been duped. Yeah, because it used to be nice. Your family could go up to the gate with you, right? And wait with you. You could have a little bite to eat and you can greet your people when they're getting off the plane as well. And that was always nice. I always loved having my family right there at the gate. So when you get off the plane, you feel like a superstar, right? It was really nice. So anyway, yeah, I could go on and on about that. But this particular flight I had, I went from Philly to Boston to Atlanta. So anyway, I wanted to meet up with Girl Code. We were trying to coordinate that. We couldn't do it. I was so sad about that. But anyway, getting back to the issue of my flight, very eventful flight, where, my goodness, it was a full moon. Doesn't that sound like a story? It was a full moon. And okay, so you know me, I don't do the thingies. Okay, I'm not going to say the words and all that. Anyway, I don't do the thingy. I don't own those thingies, okay? I don't live with that fear, okay? And we can get into a whole tussle about it, but you all know this is how I roll. So I had a scarf, nice scarf that I told you guys the story about that where I had to think of something quickly. I prayed like, God, please help me, because I felt anxiety as soon as I got to the airport. I realized, oh my gosh, it's not like anything, that I even want to deal with. So I took the scarf and just, draped it around myself going, so that worked. Now coming back, had the same scarf, did the same thing. Nobody bothered me. I prayed about it, of course, like, please, Lord, keep me invisible from all the monsters and the tyrants and all those people that want to tell you what to do with your life. So thank you, God. He delivered. So I got, on the plane, sat in my seat. I was by the window, and a woman, she sat on the aisle seat. Now, I'm not trying to be like one of these body shamers and all that stuff, but she was a very large woman. Okay. So I was kind of cramped in the seat, but I wasn't, going to make a big deal out of it. I just did what I had to do to kind of, keep myself. I was more so leaning towards the window. And it was, what was I going to do? I really didn't even think about it that much, to be honest. So we're, well into the flight, and out of the blue, because, after a while, once I have the scarf wrapped around loosely, I take it down, and, nobody said anything to me. And, I was snacking and drinking water, tea, whatever, during the flight. But, for the most part, I didn't have that on me, just kind of around my neck. Well, the woman, she had a cloth thing on, and she blurts out, "Where's your mask?" And I'm just thinking, whoa. Now, this is the part of the flight where most people are either resting, they turn the lights down, night flight. And I'm just thinking, like, everything was so calm and everything. And she blurts this out, really angry, very aggressive. And I just happened to look at her like she's talking to me. Like, it was so shocking. Like, I said, "Excuse me." And she blurted it out again, "Where's your mask?" And I said, "Excuse me, ma'am, wouldn't you want to start out just saying hello to someone, like a greeting?" And I'm going to tell you, when I looked in her eyes, she did not seem human. And it was no humanity that I could detect. And I told her this. I said, "What happened to being human? Why don't you say hello to me? Ask me what my name is. Ask me how my day is going. Ask me why I don't have one of those. I might have a reason." This did not even faze her. She did not hear me. She was not trying to hear me. She just proceeded to say, "I don't want to get sick. Where's your mask? Everybody has a mask on this plane." And I just responded. I said, "I'm not everybody. And didn't your mother teach you not to do if everybody's doing something, you don't do it?" And she became angrier and angrier. I'm telling you, she manifested like it was like a demonic presence, entity. I could feel it. Now, mind you, I'm still cramped. This woman is basically, her body is coming over to my seat at this point. It was the whole flight. Now like I said, we're almost like maybe 40 minutes away from landing. And she starts this. So she started looking around, and I said, "Oh, are you going to tattletale on me?" And she was just so enraged, and she got all of her belongings, and she did it really like aggressive, and she stood up and she left. So I figured, okay, so I'm going to hear from, the flight attendants, because, they did the announcements about you'll be whatever, all the threats, all the punitive things for not doing this. Okay. So I figured, okay, so I'm going to have somebody come over and talk to me. No one did. she just happened to go to the like a couple of seats back, and she's sitting down. So I was thinking, fine, now I have more space. But shortly after she moved her seat, we went into some of the worst turbulence. And the pilot gave the announcement, letting us know that we're heading into some turbulent air, and the rest of the flight was going to be pretty bumpy. So I could hear in their voice, you could tell when they feel a little bit, I don't know, you could just discern it after a while. So, I thought, okay. And let me tell you, we went into like the darkest, like part of the sky, it seemed. It was just so dark. And I just sensed something, just a prompting for me to pray. So I went into a prayer. I was just praising and praying. And I was praying for everybody. I said, every soul on this plane, I know that they're afraid. I can sense the fear. And I was just praying that fear would dissipate. Even the lady that did that to me, I was praying for you too, lady. So I was praying, just praying. It was probably a half an hour that we had this horrendous turbulence. And I felt a calm and confidence. I knew that we would be okay. And besides, like, I have flown so much during my lifetime, I know that turbulence isn't something to fear. And I've been on planes with people that, they fear the turbulence. In fact, I can remember one particular gentleman. I was just a young kid, and because I used to fly back and forth to visit my father. My parents were divorced, so I was one of those kids that had to fly by themselves. So this man, he was so nervous. He was sitting in the middle aisle, and I was on he was in the middle seat, rather. I was on the aisle seat. And I could just feel his knee was just, going up and down. And he was so nervous. And me as a kid, I just took my hand and I stopped him from that knee. It was driving me cuckoo. But I did it as a calming thing, like, you'll be okay, because I'm telling you, he was about to have a nervous breakdown on the plane. And when I did that, stop it. No, I was like, it'll be okay, sir. And he was just so like relieved, and something about it just calmed him down. Maybe he was embarrassed that a kid was like not afraid. But I just recall that. I'll never forget. Like, sometimes you just don't forget the things that have happened on planes, and I'm telling you, I've had some I've had some things happen. So I've had eventful flights. You probably know I've been on a hijacked plane. So yeah, check. And let's see. Oh, aborted takeoff. Yeah, I was leaving the Bahamas, actually, headed to Cuba on a trip back in 2000 or whatever. And the pilot asked people to shift the weight. People just don't listen. I don't know what it is about them. They didn't want to kind of give up their seat to shift the weight, but they were kind of forced to do it. But still, I guess it wasn't balanced enough. So I don't know if you've ever been on a plane that had an aborted takeoff. That will shake you a little bit. So yeah, it's like, you go into the full takeoff, and can you imagine they abort the takeoff. So we're on an island, so you don't have a whole lot of a lot to work with. So that was one eventful flight. And let's see. Oh, I was on a flight, and the engine caught fire with some oil and some stuff. My dad noticed it. Okay. My dad is he's such a character. So he was like, oh my God, it's a fire on the wing there. And people just started freaking out. It was like all these people on the plane, they were speaking like other languages, and my dad speaks a few languages. So he was explaining everything like in German and whatever. and we had to land, we had to go back. We were actually in Puerto Rico. We were going to the British Virgin Islands, and we had to go back. And once the plane landed, it was like the plane kept circling, but they put the fire out. We had to ride on the luggage, the luggage carriers. So once they landed, we were out, not near the gate. So they had to put us on the luggage carrier. This is in Puerto Rico. And they had to ride us to the airport. So that was quite an adventure. I was a teenager then. I think I was like 17 when that happened. And let's see, then what else? Oh yeah. So, I'm leaving John Wayne Airport in Orange County, and we were well into the flight headed to Dallas. And I guess, where were we? I'm not sure where we were, but this man has a heart attack. He starts having an MI on the plane. It was a businessman. And they give an announcement like, do we have any healthcare professionals on the plane? Please press your call bell. And I'm thinking, oh my, haven't had this happen. So I hit the call bell. They were at my chair, my seat so fast. And they were like whispering, like, calm, to keep everything calm. They explained that they were setting up an area. There's a man having some issues. There happened to be an emergency room physician on the flight as well. So it was just me and him. And pretty much we opened it was the emergency seating area. We turned it into a hospital. So he gave me orders, like the airline, it was American Airline. They had, I don't know, they didn't have a great first aid like setup, but he had one. He actually had a setup. He had IV fluids, IV start kits. They had oxygen. So I put oxygen, I gave guy aspirin. I started an IV at 33,000 feet in the air. Can you imagine? And like when I was setting up the tubing and everything, the person that was sitting in the other aisle was like, hold this. And I'm telling the person to hold this. But guess what? Nobody filmed it because I was afraid that would be on YouTube, and nobody disrespected this situation and they didn't grab footage. So I was really happy about that. But anyway, we got the person stabilized. And if you didn't know, if a physician makes a call like that they need to maybe land earlier, like an emergency landing, I guess it would have been Arizona, then the pilot will listen, they listen, I guess the FAA will listen to a physician if they feel that it's not possible to go on in terms of a medical emergency. But the physician said that he felt the patient could wait until we landed in Dallas. So we had to just kind of keep him stable until we landed. And that was quite an ordeal. So once we landed, the emergency personnel came and they asked us to stay behind where everybody else deplaned. And they got, my nursing license and everything, all the information. And then guess what? I got some points, flight points. So they thanked me. They sent this nice letter about, they appreciated everything. And I just wonder about that man. I'm glad he made it. And later I was like going back through, like, because you're doing things so fast, and you're like, did I do everything right? Did I, so sometimes that kind of like, I don't know, haunted me a little bit. But hey, I started the IV, gave him the aspirin, oxygen, the whole thing. We were just, we were working pretty quickly. So anyway, one other thing. I was flying from Atlanta to Salt Lake City, and a woman starts choking. She was choking on something she ate. Had to help her out. Okay. So yes, I've had some pretty crazy, eventful flights. But the thing about it is, and this is with any issue, any emergency, you have to check yourself so you're not fearful, that you think first, do not panic. And that's just a good, piece of advice for anybody. Do not panic, because when you panic, you can't think straight. So that's been like, I could put my nursing hat on and just like go into like that mode and not panic. That's that nursing training. So it does come in handy. But anyway, just wanted to just share that with you. And I will be sharing more. Let me know if you've had any eventful flights and just share with me below. Like and subscribe. And I will be checking back with you all soon. I want to thank you for your comments, for your shares, and everything. I want to go live soon so I can have that back and forth with you. And we can talk about current events, whatever you want. It's a lot going on. So maybe we'll do something very soon. Okay. I will announce it so you'll know in advance. Okay. Take care and thank you. I will see you soon. Bye.